Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm gonna be doing my predictions for the kickoff clash for the West and East region. So basically, how this is gonna work is that if you've seen my Valorant Pickems as well, you will know that I would be picking a team that I think is gonna win, and then we'll hope for the best. Thank God that Overwatch League started this. I'll leave a link to this down in the description so you can do it for yourself. You only have like a couple hours left though, but I think it'll be completely fine. Hopefully, if I upload this in time. So let's just first start in the West region, and first we have the Washington Justice versus the San Francisco Shock. I do think this is going to be a SF Shock win, and I do think the Justice is only going to get 1 point. That is all. I don't think it's going to be that close. The Justice have been really inconsistent most times. They are also the lowest seed team as well. So I'm expecting the Shock to lose this. Next up, it is the Elaine versus the Florida Mayhem. Now this might be... actually, I don't know. I feel like the Shock is the only match which is probably going to happen. I mean, the winner is most likely going to happen, which is the Shock obviously winning. The next three might be pretty difficult. This one, the Atlanta Rain versus the Florida Mayhem, is difficult as hell. The Mayhem, they've been looking a lot better now. They've been looking really good. The Rain have been struggling a bit, but I mean, they may be coming out swinging now after they lost to Spitfire and the Gladiators. So maybe, but I do think it's going to be a close game either way. But I do think the Florida Mayhem is going to win this. I do think it's going to go to a 5-map series. But I think the Mayhem is going to just edge it out. Next up, we got the Houston Outlaws versus the Los Angeles Gladiators. And just like the Rain, Outlaws have been inconsistent most times. The Gladiators have also been inconsistent. They've been choking a lot. But I do think this is Gladiators' game. And just like the last one, I think it's going to be incredibly close, 3-2. And this time, I think the Gladiators are actually going to win a map 5 for once. Next up, Toronto Defiant versus the Dallas Fuel. Actually, this might be another pretty convincing win. I do think the Fuel's going to win it. 3-1, I do think. I think the league is going to be big, tiny bit competitive. But I do think the Fuel is going to win. I guess we'll do the winners. So we'll do the winners round, and then we'll scroll down to the eliminations. So the winners round, the SF Shock versus the Florida Mayhem. I mean, who can even beat the Shock? I generally don't know who could beat the Shock. I think there's going to be a 3-1 victory for the Shock. They've been exceptionally well. They've been doing so good during this whole season with this new roster. So it's going to be really difficult to beat them. The L8 Gladiators versus the Dallas Fuel. I don't really know about this. This might be another difficult one to think about. The Fuel have been looking really good. I think, where did they finish? I think they finished like 2nd place in the kickoff clash. It's like in the standings. I think the Gladiators were in the midfield. I think they were around maybe, how many was it? It's like top 6. I think this was, so maybe around 4th. I think that's where they placed. I do think the Fuel's going to take it though. Only just by a tiny amount. As you can tell, I've been predicting a lot of close matches. So I do think the Gladiators is gonna lose to the Dallas Fuel. This one, we move down to the elimination. So we got the Washington Justice versus the Atlanta Rain. I do think this is an Atlanta Rain win. I'm gonna guess this is probably a 3-1 victory. The Houston Outlaws versus the Toronto Defiant. I think the Outlaws are gonna win. I generally do think, because I feel like the Defiant, they've just been meh. Well, actually, let's pull it up, actually. Let's have a look at, I'm gonna have a look. So this is currently the standings, so Shock, Fuel, Gladiators, Mayhem, Outlaws, Defiant, Rain, and Justice. So if we, do that, obviously, hypothetically, it will be the Outlaws winning. But the Defiant have also been looking pretty good. I'm going to contradict myself. I'm going to say the Outlaws are going to win it. So if you scroll back down, Outlaws, I think it's going to be a very close game. A 3-2 victory for the Outlaws. So I move on to the winners. Should I don't... I generally think that the Fuel may take this. Now, I don't know if they've actually versed each other yet. I don't think they have. So this is probably gonna be the first time they verse each other. And I have some hopium. You know, I had the hope and the copium as well that the Dallas Fuel may win this. I just think that, I mean, even though they've been looking, they were really inconsistent in like beginning of the season, I think the Dallas Fuel are the only team which can compete against the SF Shock. Actually, in my opinion, though, I think they're the only team that can compete. But I'm gonna keep it to my guts. I'm gonna say the SF Shock. Once again, a very, very close game. Let's now move on over here to the elimination, if I can actually drag this, which I can. The Elaine versus the L8 Gladiators. Now, the Gladiators have been looking exceptionally well. They finished, obviously, 3rd place, tied with the Florida Mayhem. And I guess also with the Houston Outlaws and the Dallas Fuel, and the Toronto Fire in, like, map record. But if we're talking about map differential, there's obviously the Gladiators and Mayhem are tied. I do think the Gladiators are going to win it. 3-1. I'm not excited a lot from the rain. Houston Outlaws versus the Florida Mayhem. I'm going to do something a little cheeky here. I'm going to do something very cheeky. I think the Outlaws are going to win. Only very, very close. But I have copium on the Houston Outlaws. I just think that they're both going to win it. Because these two teams are very, very similar, I think. I mean, both teams have exceptional players. The coaches are obviously fantastic. So, but I think the Outlaws is going to just edge out the Mayhem. I might be completely wrong there, because he's obviously Pickems. And obviously, if you know how I go, my Pickems in the non-APAC region is pretty shite. It's really, really bad. Unless we talk about like Brazil or maybe over Korea or something, and that's pretty easy. But if we're talking about in Overwatch League in the West, it's really difficult. I mean, the East is actually gonna be a lot more harder now I think about it, but still, either way. So the elimination, Gladiators versus the Outlaws in round 3. I do think it will be the Gladiators 3-2. Yeah, that's just what I think. Let's now move on to elimination round 4. Sorry, and I do think it's going to be the Dallas Fuel 3-0. I think the Gladiators are probably going to get thrashed. Well, it's probably going to be like those close 3-0 games where like it will go to like overtime and like escort or feck was the other one, not push. It's like escort hybrid. There we go. Escort hybrid. I feel like is going to be like overtime, I guess. But I do think the Fuel's going to take this. And for the finals, first of all, the SF Shock versus the Dallas Fuel. This might be a banger of a match. Keep in mind as well, the Dallas Fuel has the hometown advantage. So I think the Fuel's going to take it. And obviously, it's going to be incredibly close. But I do think the Fuel is going to take this 4-3. That's just in my predictions. So I need to fill out the East region, which I'm going to be doing right now. So just to recap, if I can scroll back for some super reason, there we go. I think the Shock's going to win against the Justice. Mayhem's going to win against the Rain. Gladiators are going to win against the Outlaws. So the Fuel's going to lose. Is going to win to the Defiant. Round 2, Shock and the Fuel advance to round 3. Elimination round 1. Rain and the Outlaws advance to round 2. Where the Gladiators and the Outlaws advance to round 3. The Gladiators lost in round 3. Scroll up here actually. The Shock advances to the grand final. Elimination round 4, where the Gladiators lose to the Dallas Fuel. If I can scroll for frick's sakes. Oh my god. There you go. So the Dallas Fuel is going to win against the Gladiators to punch himself into the grand finals. And the Dallas Fuel will take the win only just by a slight margin due to home advantage. Let's now move on to the East region. And the East region will be played online. And these are all the teams. So we got the Fusion versus the Spark, and the Dynasty versus the Dragons. The first one, obviously, the Spark, they have been looking really, really good. We move on to the East region. Actually, they're down here. So we move to the East region. We got the Spark, who's in the lead, and there's the Dragons, Dynasty, and the Fusion. Obviously, the Fusion, they were in the lead for the very beginning of the season, so at the very start, but then they started to fall off massively, and now they're down in 4th place. The Spark has taken over the lead, surprisingly, surpassed my expectations. I do think the Spark is going to win against the Fusion at 3-1. The Dynasty versus the Dragons. Now, this is a rematch from, I can't remember what week it was. I think it's like week 4, week 3 of the Kickoff Clash. And I think that one was the Dragons winning that, if I remember correctly. I do think the Dragons are still going to win it. Maybe with a 3-1 lead for the Dragons. We go to the Elimination Round 1. The Seoul Dynasty versus the Philadelphia Fusion. I'm going to say it'll be the Philadelphia Fusion winning this. It will be incredibly close. You could choose either teams because of how close this match is going to be. I do think though that the Fusion is just going to squeak one out. The Hangzhou Spark versus the Shanghai Dragons. Now, I can't remember if they versed each other during this this tournament. During the qualifiers, which I don't think they did. Which is why I'm actually, the Spark do look really, really good. However, the Dragons look scary, which is why I think it's going to be a 3-2 victory for the Shanghai Dragons. Next up, it is the Philadelphia Fusion versus the Hangzhou Spark. I think the Fusion is going to get their revenge for the Spark. I think it's going to be a 3-1. I might be going crazy here, but I generally think that the Fusion will make a massive run to the grand finals. And with that, the Philadelphia Fusion versus the Shanghai Dragons is obviously first of all, just like in the West region. I think it with the Shanghai Dragons. I think the Dragons are going to get it 4-2. I don't think the Fusion even comes close, I'll be honest. I think they would just get some lucky map scores. I don't think the Fusion is going to win against the Shanghai Dragons. It'd be incredibly difficult for someone to beat them. I mean, now think about it, they did almost lose to the Guangzhou Charge and the LA Valiant, the 2 bottom teams of the East region. So, I mean, I don't think the Valiant is actually one of the worst teams. I think they're better than the Hunters. They're maybe in contention of with against the Spark, the Dynasty, and the Fusion, maybe. But it's crazy that they almost lost to the Guangzhou Charge out of all teams. Jesus Christ, it's crazy. But that is my Pickems. Obviously, I can now save them, which I'm going to do. Okay, submit predictions. I think I can also have a look at them. Yes, I can. So I do. So I think the Spark's going to win against the Fusion, and the Dragon's going to win against the Dynasty in round 1. Elimination round 1, the Fusion is going to make a comeback against the Dynasty in to advance themselves into Elimination round 2. Winners round 2, I think will be the Dragons winning against the Spark. Elimination round 2 will be the Philadelphia Fusion against the Hangzhou Spark, and I think the Fusion is going to win it. And in the grand finals, it will be the Shanghai Dragons taking home the victory and getting those 3 very crucial league points. So obviously, everyone here who finishes who finishes in 4th and 3rd place will get 1 league point. For the West, I think it's the top 2. So I think it's the top 2. Yeah. So I think first and second, second will get 2 league points. First will get 3 league points, and then all the rest will get 1 league point. So obviously, it's very crucial to be in these tournaments just so you get a free league point, basically. So that is really about it for me. I'll probably maybe do more of these for Mid-Season Madness, Summer Showdown, the Countdown Cup, and also the playoffs as well. So that which will be very, very exciting. So that's really about it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Catch you guys on next time in the next one. Goodbye.